Check 1, 2. And sorry, could the translators do one last sound check, just on English, then on French, a 10 count on each, please? Thanks.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And sorry, could the French translator just do a quick 10 count once more, please? Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. We're going to start in 1 minute. We'll start in 1 minute. Thank you. Merci. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. As we begin our meeting today, on behalf of Ottawa City Council, I wish to acknowledge that Ottawa is built on unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. Les peuples de la nation algonquine Anishinaabe vivent sur
The peoples of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and their presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. The City of Ottawa honors the peoples in land of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. We honor all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples and for their valuable and past and present contribution to this land.
Thank you. Merci. I'll ask that you remain standing, and I will ask Councillor Brown to introduce the performers of our national anthem, who are quite numerous.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. If you're going to do it, go big. Mr. Mayor and colleagues, please join me in welcoming the South Carleton High School Band, one of the finest schools in Ward 21, also the high school that I was fortunate enough to graduate from, coming from Richmond. I'm very proud to have them here today. I don't think we've ever had a band this large come and perform the national anthem for a city council meeting. So please join me in welcoming them as they perform our national anthem.
Thank you very much. What an excellent performance. Thank you so much. And Councillor Brown, I'm glad to see the educational standards have improved there since you graduated.
They have, Mr. Mayor. I always find I come up short.
All right, we will start with our roll call, please.
Councillor Luloff,
Good morning, but a better morning now.
Councillor Dudas, Councillor Hill,
Present.
Councillor Curry, Councillor Kelly,
Present.
Councillor Gower,
Here.
Councillor Kavanaugh,
Present.
Councillor Johnson,
Here.
Councillor Devine,
Here.
Councillor Bradley,
Here.
Councillor Tierney,
Present.
Conseillère Plante,
Allô.
Councillor King,
Here.
Councillor Troster,
Here.
Councillor Leeper,
You see?
Councillor Brockington, Councillor Menard,
Here.
Councillor Carr,
Here.
Councillor Kitts, Councillor Skalski,
Here.
Councillor Brown,
Here.
Conseiller Desroches,
Here.
Councillor Kubley,
Here.
Councillor Lowe,
Present.
Mayor Sutcliffe.
Here.
We have quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Confirmation of minutes from the City Council meeting of April 22nd, including the confidential minutes. Are those carried? Are there any declarations of interest? I'll note the communications on the agenda, and Councillor Desroches, I believe you wanted to just say something briefly about item 7.3. Is that right?
Yes, just very quickly, Mr. Mayor, I'm very grateful for this petition from residents of the Leitrim area. I have been in communication with staff to ensure that their questions are answered. We're moving ahead with the water main project, which is essential. Unfortunately, the services for sewers are not in a close proximity. And as many members know, we're governed by provincial regulations that this would normally go through a local improvement petition and not simply a petition to council as it's outlined today. So we will work with these residents to make sure that they get the information they need if they're interested in the local improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Desroches. We did receive regrets from Councillors Dudas, Brockington, and Kitts. Motion to introduce reports. Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor, that the report from the Ottawa Board of Health entitled Ottawa Public Health 2025 Annual Report, Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee Report 35, Audit Committee Report 17, Community Services Committee Report 22, Environment and Climate Change Committee Report 23, Joint Finance and Corporate Services Committee and Planning and Housing Committee Report 5, Planning and Housing Committee Report 64, Public Works and Infrastructure Committee Report 26, and the report from the City Clerk entitled Summary of Oral and Written Public Submissions for Items Subject to the Planning Act Explanation Requirements at City Council meeting of April 22, 2026 be received and considered.
Is that carried? Thank you. Item 10.1 is the Ottawa Public Health 2025 Annual Report. Is that received? From Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee, item 11.1 is the Economic Development Rural Plan. Is that carried? Item 11.2 is the motion from Councillor Skalski on Rural Home Infrastructure Upgrade Financing Program. Is that carried? Item 11.3 is the motion from Councillor Kitts on improving road safety at 10th Line Road and Wall Road. Is that carried?
Dissent on 11.3. Thank you.
Dissent on 11.3. Thank you. Item 11.4 is the Municipal Responsibility Agreement for Private Communal Water System and Private Communal Wastewater System at 1229 Dwyer Hill Road. Is that carried? Item 11.5 is the replacement of septic system infrastructure at 2761 8th Line Road. Is that carried? On item 11.6, if anybody wants that held, we would go in camera, but if that's not the will of council, then is that item carried? From Audit Committee, the report from the Auditor General on the audit of cash in lieu of parkland funds. Is that carried?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to register dissent. Looking to the clerk, am I dissenting on the entire report or just the one recommendation that I dissented on at committee?
I believe there are a number of people who wanted to dissent on recommendation 1, so if that's possible to do that separately.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members may dissent on the entire item or on recommendation 1 contained within the Auditor General's report.
So let me just ask first, is there anyone who wants to dissent on the entire item? Okay, so then those who wish to dissent on item 1, recommendation 1.
Councillor Brown.
Okay, so would you want, shall we do yeas and nays on item 1? Okay, so let me everything except recommendation 1, is that carried? And then on recommendation 1, we will have a recorded vote.
Councillor Skalsky?
So yes to dissent. Is that no? No.
So no, yeah.
No.
If you're dissenting, say no.
Councillor Pound?
So say yes.
Councillor Troster?
No.
Councillor Lowe?
No.
Councillor Brown?
No.
Councillor Johnson?
No.
Councillor Hill?
No.
Councillor Carr?
Absolutely yes.
Councillor Hubley?
No.
Councillor Kelly?
No.
Councillor Leeper?
Yes.
Councillor Menard?
Yes.
Councillor King?
No.
Councillor Desroches?
No.
Councillor Gower?
Yes.
Councillor Curry?
Yes.
Councillor Devine?
Yes.
Councillor Brockington? Councillor Kavanaugh?
No.
Councillor Kitts? Councillor Dudas? Councillor Lulov?
No.
Councillor Tierney?
No.
Councillor Bradley?
No.
Mayor Sutcliffe?
Yes.
8 yeas, 14 nays.
Okay. From Community Services Committee, item 13.1 is the Pathways to Housing Ottawa Family Homelessness Strategy. Is that carried? Okay, so if we can deal with the ramifications of the previous vote later on or offline, but I'm just going to continue moving through the agenda on the items that we still have to decide about. But if people have questions about the previous item, they can raise them offline. Item 13.2 is the 2026 update to local priority rules under the Housing Services Act 2011. And I believe Councillor Carr has a motion related to that. Is that right? Councillor Carr, you have a motion? Councillor Carr, which I'm hoping we can, with the will of council, just deal with quickly here as part of the consent agenda.
Whereas the 2026 update to local priority rules under the Housing Services Act 2011 indicates more than 16,000 households are currently waiting for a rent geared to income housing offer and confirms that local rules governing access and ongoing eligibility must remain current, responsive, transparent, and accountable to community needs and public resources. Whereas in its role as service manager under the Housing Services Act, the city has delegated the management of the RGI centralized waiting list and affordable housing waiting list to the Social Housing Registry of Ottawa, and the city exclusively funds the registry as administrator of the RGI, CWL, and HWL, whereas the city in partnership with the registry and community housing providers are in the process of implementing the integrated housing system IHS to modernize and digitize the registry's business processes, whereas the IHS system is intended to support service enhancements for registry applications, allowing clients to both submit applications and track the status of their file online, whereas the update to business practices that is underway presents an opportunity to review and improve the registry's operations to ensure they are best positioned to support Ottawa residents, recognizing increasing demands for affordable housing in the community. Therefore, be it resolved that staff be directed to undertake a detailed review of the registry to ensure that the RGI, CWL, and HWL accurately reflect current housing needs and that the registry's services are delivered in an accountable manner that maximizes value for the city, clients, and community housing providers and improves flow for those waiting for homes. And be it further resolved that the review include, but not be limited to, an assessment of ongoing work to maintain and improve the accuracy, integrity, and administration of the RGI, CWL, and HWL, including data quality controls, list management practices, service standards, performance monitoring, staffing and resourcing requirements, and an evaluation of the governance models, systems, technology, tools, and business processes supporting the registry's operations, including service performance, contract oversight, accountability mechanisms, and opportunities for efficiencies, improvements, or alternative service delivery models, and analysis of the financial, operational, service, and risk applications of operations at the registry with considerations for growing service pressures on affordable housing stock, and be it further resolved that staff report back with findings, financial implications, and recommendations to improve accountability, service effectiveness, and cost efficiency, including proposed next steps by Q2 2027. And just to note that I've spoken to the Social Housing Registry, Ottawa Community Housing is our largest provider, and staff with respect to this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Carr, and staff are comfortable with that motion. Is that correct?
Yes, we are, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Just before we will vote, I will note the distraction that's happening because of the presence of Councillor Tierney's granddaughter, Tierney Elizabeth Way, who I'm predicting will be the president of FCM in 2070, 2075 maybe? Right. All right. Okay, Councillor Carr's motion, is that carried? And then the item is amended, is that carried? From Environment and Climate Change, we have the motion from Councillor Carr on the 200 Bytown Celebration tree planting. Is that carried? We have the motion from Councillor Lowe on the removal of municipal trees. Is that carried?
Your Worship, I will dissent on items 2, 3, and 4 out of that motion.
Okay. Is that carried? Councillor Kavanagh and Councillor Gower are dissenting on the same items. Anybody else? Otherwise carried? Okay, thank you. From Finance and Corporate Services, item 15.1 is the Housing Acceleration Plan Progress Update. There is an amending motion and a direction, so maybe we'll hold that and come back to it. From Planning and Housing, 16.1, the motion from Councillor Johnson on the digital facade permit at IKEA. Is that carried? From Public Works and Infrastructure, 17.1 is the Ottawa Hospital connection to Dow's Lake Station Environmental Assessment Study recommendations. Is that carried? Item 17.2 is the implications of Bill 56 and Strategic Road Safety Action Plan. And Councillor Plante, I think you have a motion related to that, which maybe we'll just hold the item and come back to it. Okay. 17.3 is the motion from Councillor Johnson on the City View Ditch Rehabilitation Project area. Is that carried?
Dissent, please.
Okay. Carried with a dissent from Councillor Skalski. 17.4 is the update on the Ottawa-Gatineau bike share feasibility study. Is that carried? And the bulk consent agenda, is that carried? All right, coming back to item 15.1, Councillor Gower has a motion seconded by me on development charges. Councillor Gower, if you'd read that motion, please.
Thank you. Whereas Council has affirmed its intention to make Ottawa the most housing-friendly city in Canada, and whereas, as outlined by the development feasibility analysis prepared for the City of Ottawa by Bloomberg Associates, the combination of measures taken by this term of Council have made meaningful gains toward improving project viability. And whereas these gains are reflected in the fact that housing starts in 2025 were up 38% in Ottawa, while starts province-wide were down 13%. And whereas despite this progress, project feasibility remains constrained largely due to broader macroeconomic trends, and whereas the federal and provincial governments have announced a multi-billion-dollar investment to reduce municipal development charges with a commitment to support the reduction by up to 50% of municipal DCs, which can add hundreds of thousands of dollars to the cost of new homes in Ontario municipalities. And whereas municipalities do not yet have final details about how this new program will function, including the depth of the subsidy offered or whether there are eligibility requirements for municipalities to access these funds, and whereas due to this uncertainty, some builders may be holding off on otherwise viable projects, and whereas this could delay projects, create concurrent labor market and supply chain pressures, or otherwise harm long-term housing outcomes, and whereas the City of Ottawa offers a DC deferral program for residential dwellings, such that those charges may be paid at the point of occupancy rather than the issuance of the building permit. Therefore, be it resolved that staff propose amendments to the development charges bylaw to permit development charges for new residential units to be paid at the lowest applicable rate during the deferral period, such that developers have no incentive to delay construction in the attempt to secure lower development charge rates. And be it further resolved that effective date of this change be retroactive to January 1st, 2026, and be it further resolved that this measure be reviewed alongside the comprehensive development charge review that staff are undertaking in 2027.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gower. And Councillor Menard, I believe you had a direction.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mayor, and thanks to staff for working on this. This comes from the discussion we had at committee. that staff be directed to analyze and report back on the feasibility and potential implementation of a public developer model for the City of Ottawa, including A, potential operational efficiencies, including the extent to which such a model could realize economies of scale through internal construction management, standardized building designs, bulk procurement, and modular, prefabricated, or other innovative construction methods. B, potential contributions to the growth and long-term sustainability of community housing assets, including opportunities to portfolio level financing tools and incentives, to revolving loan or reinvestment mechanisms, and to public ownership of land and housing assets over the long term. And C, how such a model could be operationalized within the City of Ottawa's institutional context, taking into account the following implementation considerations: governance and organizational methods, legal, financial, and operational requirements, potential partnerships with nonprofit, co-op, and public sector housing providers, and any policy, legislative, staffing, or budget implications associated with establishing such a model within the City of Ottawa's institutional context. And of course, OCH as an actor in this, this is something that OCH could be looking at to expand their role, which is part of the intent here. So thank you, Mayor. Thanks to staff.
Okay, and staff are comfortable with that direction?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Menard. Okay. Everyone good to vote on that? Is everyone, so on Councillor Gower's motion then, is that carried? And then the item is amended, is that carried? Okay, we'll jump ahead to item 17.2 and Councillor Plante, you had a motion. Go ahead.
Thank you first to Councillor Johnson for seconding. Whereas there's a backlog of 51 warranted pedestrian crossover termed PXO by city staff throughout the city, whereas residents in some neighborhoods have been waiting for these approved warranted PXOs for 10 years since 2014. I guess that would be 12. Whereas the city endorses the concept of 15-minute neighborhoods, whereas the city endorses Vision Zero for pedestrian deaths, whereas there's proven data-driven need for pedestrian crossovers, whereas the report includes a plan that identifies 30 locations of the 51 that are pending future funding for installation, whereas the report outlines the additional funding required to complete the installation of these 30 locations, including an additional $4.1 million in 2027 for design work and $2.5 million in supplemental funding annually from 2028 to 2030 to complete construction. Therefore, be it resolved that Council directs staff to consider pedestrian crossover funding through the Road Safety Action Plan following the development of the Strategic Road Safety Action Plan to ensure the funding decisions align with the plan's visions, priorities, emphasis areas, and available funding. Merci beaucoup.
Did you want to speak to the motion, or are you okay? Okay, are staff comfortable with that motion?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right, so on Councillor Plante's motion then, is that carried? And the item is amended, is that carried? All right. We will move ahead to disposition of items approved by committees under delegated authority. Is that received? Motion to adopt reports, Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. That the report, excuse me, that the report from the Ottawa Board of Health entitled Ottawa Public Health 2025 Annual Report, Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee Report 35, Audit Committee Report 17, Community Services Committee Report 22, Environment and Climate Change Committee Report 23, Joint Finance, Corporate Services and Planning Housing Committee Report 5, Planning and Housing Committee Report 64, Public Works and Infrastructure Committee Report 26, and the report from the City Clerk entitled Summary of Oral and Written Public Submissions for items subject to the Planning Act explanation requirements at the City Council meeting of April 22nd, 2026 be received and adopted as amended.
Is that carried? Motions of which notice has previously been given. Councillor Menard's motion on giveaway weekends in Ottawa. Councillor Menard, did you want to say anything?
Thanks very much, Mayor. I don't have much else to say. I had read it in last time, but it's exciting for me to see the giveaway weekends come back. This is where you can put items out on your front porch, front lawn, or balcony, and say free for someone else's taking. And this exchange, this kind of community-focused initiative that promotes reuse, waste reduction, and neighborhood engagement is a fun activity, and people find treasure treasures there. As a garage sale enthusiast myself, this is my favorite weekend of the year. I'm glad we're bringing it back. So this giveaway weekend this year will be in 2026 on May 30th and May 31st. So get your items ready to give away and pick up something if you find a treasure that someone else didn't want. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Menard. Councillor Plante.
Yeah, I was just to remind everyone around the table and who's listening, this is any given Sunday in Ward 12. Okay, if you are looking for furniture, just come drive around Ward 12. You will find something. You may find something you didn't realize you needed. And especially my tip for everyone is the student move out weekend, gold mine for furniture. So thank you, Councillor Menard and Councillor Carr for this motion, but we are ahead of the game here in Ward 12. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for noting that. Is the motion carried? Thank you. On the water service interruption notifications, Councillor Dudas is not here, so we have a deferral motion. Councillor Luloff, I believe you're going to read that deferral motion.
Whereas the motion of which notice has been previously given, currently listed on the agenda as item 22.2 is moved by Councillor Dudas on April 22nd, 2026. And whereas Councillor Dudas has sent regrets for the council meeting of today, therefore be it resolved that the motion listed as item 22.2 water service interruption notifications be deferred to the next regular meeting of council currently scheduled for May 27th, 2026.
Thank you. Is that carried? Motions requiring suspension of the rules of procedure, all of which are of a time-sensitive nature. So on the motion from Councillor Troster to name Diane Holmes Park, I'll note the presence of longtime Ottawa City Councillor Diane Holmes in our gallery today. Welcome to you. Great to see you.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
On suspension of the rules, is that carried? Carried. Councillor Troster.
Thank you. I'd just like to say a few words before I introduce the official motion, and I'm so happy that Diane and her daughter Bryn are here today with us. So when Diane Holmes was first elected to City Council, her closest opponent blamed the feminist vote for his loss. Well, his loss was Somerset Ward and our whole city's gain. Diane first ran for City Council in 1982. She won the seat for what was then Wellington Ward and was re-elected for 3 more consecutive terms. In 1994, she became the first elected regional councillor for Somerset Ward and was acclaimed 3 years later for a second term in 1998. She sat out 1 term, but then she returned again in 2003 as councillor for Somerset Ward, a post she held until 2014. That's more than 30 years in municipal politics, which is not for the faint of heart. I cannot imagine it. Diane's accomplishments are too many to name, but I know she was admired for being a fighter for downtown communities at a time when urban renewal was making neighborhoods like ours less livable. She introduced the first traffic calming measures in residential areas downtown, echoing the concerns that I still hear about, knowing that safe, slower streets were key to attracting families to live and stay in Centertown. Diane worked hard to revitalize Chaudière, Jack Purcell, McNabb, and Primrose Park. She championed the Corkstown Bridge, the Beaver Barracks Affordable Housing Development, the Laurier Bike Lane, and the Chinatown Arch. She helped found both Crime Prevention Ottawa and the Women's Initiative for Safer Environments, emphasizing the need for proactive social supports and community safety initiatives. I will never forget the advice Diane first gave me when I was considering running for office. She said I needed to make sure I was standing up for truly affordable housing, no more than 30% of household income. She said, for someone living on social assistance, that's $300 to $400 a month, and no other definition mattered. And I took that to heart, and I still do. Diane was loved and is loved for never giving up on what's right. So for this reason, I'm thrilled to announce that the city will be naming a new park at the corner of Albert and Lyon, Diane Holmes Park. Yay. Congratulations to Diane, to her daughter Bryn. They're both in the gallery with us today. Diane, your legacy lives on, and I will do my best to fill the very big shoes you left behind. So here's the official motion. Whereas on July 10th, 2024, City Council approved the commemorative naming policy, and whereas in keeping with its powers set out in the Municipal Act 2001, Council may assign a commemorative name by resolution, notwithstanding the provisions included in the commemorative naming policy. And whereas Diane Holmes holds a special significance in the community of Ward Ward 14, as she served as city councillor for 30 years, first being elected in 1982 before retiring in 2014. And whereas Diane Holmes was a champion for downtown housing programs and pedestrian and cyclist safety, and her legacy in Somerset Ward can be seen through the Beaver Barracks, the Corktown Bridge, and the Laurier Avenue segregated bike lane. Whereas in order to support construction timelines at 400 Albert Street, an official park name must be finalized to complete the production and installation of the park signage prior to the end of June 2026. Therefore, be it resolved that the park located at 400 Albert Street be named Diane Holmes Park. And be it further resolved that an appropriate stand and plaque be installed displaying the name and includes a brief history of Diane Holmes' contributions. And be it further resolved that all costs related to the production and installation of the stand, plaque, and subsequent event will be funded through the councillor's office. And be it further resolved that all costs related to signage be funded through the building developer. And be it further resolved that all text for signage and commemorative plaques shall be bilingual and subject to approval by the General Manager of Recreation, Cultural, and Facility Services. Thank you. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Councillor Troster. I see some people want to debate this motion, apparently. It's going to be very controversial. Councillor Menard.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm all in favor of the motion, but I just wanted to add a couple of words as well. Diane Holmes has been a mentor to me in the past, and when I was part of the Centertown Community Association as a member, and then later the president, Diane would meet with me monthly. We would go and meet over scones and talk about city issues and how to improve Somerset Ward. We would go, talk about guerrilla gardening and get the community association doing some gardening in an area that really did not have a lot of trees. There was a huge wealth of knowledge there. When we would go to our parks or do cleanups along Bank Street, it was just incredible the active nature that Diane had and how she imparted a lot of that wisdom to people that cared about the city of Ottawa. So I've learned so much from you, Diane. I'm so glad that you and your daughter are here today to hear these words and experience this, and couldn't have had a better mentor when I was a lot younger growing up, and appreciate all you've done for the city of Ottawa.
Thank you, Councillor Menard. Councillor Plante.
Hi, former Councillor Holmes. I just wanted to say, when I was on the Vanier Community Association, we had a development project, and I was tasked with going around to the city council. This was like maybe 2006, 2007, and having a chat with them about the development. And I remember coming to see you. You very graciously welcomed me in your office, and I explained who I was, where I was from, and what I was there for. And then you looked at me and you said, whatever you do, don't go into municipal politics. And so I just wanted to remind you of that, because I never forgot it. And I also remember how kind you were and how patient you were when we met. I was a bit nervous coming here to City Hall at the time. I'd only been in the city about 2 years at that point. So thank you so much for welcoming me, and it's great to see you here. And I'm glad I didn't take your advice, though. Thank you.
Merci, Conseiller Plante. All right, is that carried? Thank you, everyone. All right, I would like to introduce a motion with the support of council to suspend patio fees for this summer. So on suspension of the rules, is that carried? All right, I will read the motion, which is seconded by Councillor Menard. Thank you. Whereas rising costs are contributing to an affordability crisis for Ottawa residents and small business owners, and whereas the hospitality industry has experienced significant pressures, including rising food prices, and whereas Ottawa is celebrating the 200th anniversary of the founding of Bytown in 2026 and wants to ensure the hospitality industry is well positioned to capitalize on the opportunity. And whereas the City of Ottawa, the Byward Market District Authority, and the Spark Street Mall Authority collect patio fees from businesses that encroach onto the right-of-way with patios, and whereas the fees collected by BMDA and the Spark Street Mall Authority from part of their operating revenue as part of the service and asset management agreement between the City and the BMDA, and the Memorandum of Understanding between the City and the Spark Street Mall Authority, respectively, and whereas all fees collected include $79 permit processing fees, a $431 first-time review fee, and a monthly charge of up to $16.49 per month per square meter of encroachment. And whereas in 2025, a total of $429,412 was collected in patio fees citywide between the three organizations. And whereas these fees represent costs that are ultimately passed down to customers through higher prices, And whereas patio fees may discourage businesses from providing patios, which are an important part of improving the vibrancy of Ottawa, particularly in tourism-generating areas such as the Byward Market and downtown, and whereas waiving patio rental fees will have a substantially positive impact on local economic activity, small businesses, residents, and visitors, particularly during Ottawa 200 celebrations. Therefore, be it resolved that the 2026 operating budget user fee schedule be amended to waive the summer monthly patio permit rental rate by reducing that rate from $16.49 to $0.00 per square meter. And be it further resolved that any waived rental fees already paid in 2026 be reimbursed to applicants. And be it further resolved that the city provide both the BMDA and the Sparks Street Mall Authority with funding to offset the fees lost from this waiver, and that this be covered through staff vacancies and professional services budgets within the Planning, Development, and Building Services Department. Colleagues, I'll just say quickly, as the motion says, this is a challenging time for many small businesses. We want to support our local hospitality industry, our local restaurants and small businesses. We want them to have a great season, especially with Ottawa 200 celebrations. We don't want to add to their financial burden. So this is an opportunity, I think, for us to support the local businesses and support their customers. I want to thank Councillor Hubley, who has advocated on this many, many times. Councillor Menard, thank you for working together on this motion. You've been an advocate for this as well. I know that this has a big impact across the city, but in particular in Conseil Plante's ward and in Councillor Troster's ward, as well as the Glebe and in other areas of the city. So I think this is something we can do to support our local business community and make the city more vibrant during our Ottawa 200 celebrations. So thank you for considering this. Is the motion carried? Thank you. Councillor Hubley has a motion regarding the daycare at 1 Terence Matthews Crescent that is of a time-sensitive nature, so on suspension of the rules. Is that carried? Councillor Hubley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to extend my thanks to your office for all their help with this. This came up relative quickly, and as you mentioned, very time sensitive. I also want to thank planning staff and building code services for helping us find a way to resolve this. It's a short motion. It says, whereas Little Heroes Daycare Center is planning to relocate to 1 Terence Matthews Crescent in September 2026. Whereas Little Heroes Daycare Center acquired the property prior to the passing of zoning bylaw 2026-50, and whereas under zoning bylaw 2008-250, 1 Terence Matthews Crescent was zoned as IP4 industrial, which includes a daycare as a permitted use, whereas under zoning bylaw 2026-50, 1 Terence Matthews is now zoned as mixed industrial, which does not include a daycare as a permitted use. Therefore, be it resolved that staff be directed to bring forward a zoning bylaw amendment to add daycare as a permitted use at 1 Terence Matthews Crescent at the earliest opportunity. Mr. Mayor, this will give us one of the biggest daycares in the city, and it's right in the center of the community where there are literally thousands of people that could actually walk their children to this daycare. So I really appreciate the support of council to get this done, because it's critical that they're ready to open in September at the start of the school year. So thank you in advance, colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Hubley. Is that carried? Notices of motion for consideration at a subsequent meeting. Councillor Troster.
Thank you very much. Whereas Ottawa's downtown neighbourhoods have seen a rapid expansion of pharmacies dispensing hydromorphone through provincially funded mechanisms, including OHIP, under policy frameworks that do not require sufficient aftercare or ongoing oversight. And whereas the method of prescribing, dispensing, and managing these medications without sufficient structure or support is contributing to significant social challenges in cities across Ontario. And whereas the clustering of these operations in a small geographic area without integrated support amplifies local impacts and places an added strain on surrounding businesses, residents, and public spaces. And whereas the delivery of opioid agonist treatment without a structured continuum of care, including the integration of aftercare wraparound supports, long-term stabilization planning, or access to medically supervised detoxification services, contributes to uncertain outcomes and risks such as an increase in diversion. And whereas there's a fundamental concern regarding the alignment of for-profit incentives with addiction recovery outcomes, as a model that relies on patient volume and ongoing utilization creates an inherent tension with the goal of treatment, which is to stabilize individuals and support them toward recovery and independence. And whereas municipal government cannot set clinical standards, limit prescribing practices, or intervene in how these models are structured, but are necessarily bearing the primary consequences of these operations by managing the downstream effects through policing, bylaw enforcement, public realm maintenance, and support for affected residents and businesses. And whereas without stronger regulation and clearer standards, gaps in care will persist, and both patients in the communities will continue to be negatively impacted. Therefore, be it resolved that a copy of this motion be forwarded to the Ontario Ministry of Health, the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, and the Ontario College of Pharmacists. And therefore, be it resolved that a copy of this motion be shared by the City Clerk's Office to all Ontario municipalities and with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario on behalf of Council, in order that the following actions can be prioritized for advocacy. 1, that the provincial, federal, and relevant regulatory bodies undertake an immediate review of high-volume for-profit addiction treatment and dispensing models operating in Ontario, particularly with respect to urban areas that have access to in-person addiction medicine providers. And 2, that the province undertake an immediate review of the payment rules for billing for addiction medicine services as detailed in the OHIP Schedule of Benefits, including the requirement to establish a physician-patient relationship and the use of virtual care and video consultation. Thank you. And thank you to Councillor Plante, who will be seconding.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Plante, you have your hand up, but we're not voting on the motion today. We're not. Yeah, you could speak to it next time. Yeah, okay, thank you. Councillor Gower.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks to Councillor Brown for seconding. Whereas on July 10th, 2024, City Council approved the commemorative naming policy, and whereas in keeping with its powers set out in the Municipal Act, Council may assign a commemorative name by resolution, notwithstanding the provisions included in the commemorative naming policy, and whereas Marion Gulick lived in Stittsville for close to 68 years and played a vital role in the formation of many of the local groups and activities that have helped shape our community, and whereas Marion was a secretary and treasurer of the Stittsville-Goulburn Horticultural Society when it was first formed in 1962 and was instrumental in the establishment of the Stittsville Friendship Club in 1982. And whereas Marion was a charter member of the Ladies Auxiliary of the Stittsville Legion, a member of the Goulburn Museum and Goulburn Township Historical Society, the Stittsville Village Association, as well as the Stittsville Minor Hockey Association, and whereas Marion was awarded the Stittsville Roger Griffiths Memorial Citizen of the Year Award in 2000 and Senior Citizen of the Year Award in 2002 and 2012, as well as the City of Ottawa's Community Activism Award in 2003 for her dedicated volunteerism in Stittsville. And whereas Marion and her husband Bill were one of the first families to move to Ralph Park Street, previously known as Ralph Street, and Marion lived in the same house for several decades, becoming a pillar of the community known for her kindness, generosity, and willingness to lend a helping hand. Therefore, be it resolved that City Council approve the commemorative naming of Ralph Street Park, located at 12 Ralph Park Street, to Marion Gulick Park in honor of Marion Gulick and in recognition of her outstanding service and enduring impact on the community of Stittsville and the City of Ottawa. And be it further resolved that an appropriate plaque be installed displaying the name and a brief history of the contributions of Marion Gulick. And be it further resolved that all costs related to the production and installation of the plaque and subsequent event be funded through the Councillor's Office. And be it further resolved that all costs related to updating the park sign be funded through the Ward 6 cash in lieu. And be it further resolved that all text for signage and commemorative plaques shall be bilingual and subject to approval by the General Manager of Recreation, Cultural and Facility Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gower. Councillor Luloff.
Whereas on July 10th, 2024, City Council approved the commemorative naming policy, and whereas in keeping with its powers set out in the Municipal Act 2001, Council may assign a commemorative name by resolution, notwithstanding the provisions included in the commemorative naming policy, and whereas Russ Thomas was a dedicated and generous member of the Cumberland community who gave of himself selflessly throughout his life, and whereas Russ devoted countless hours to supporting local organizations and community initiatives, including serving as president and co-president of the Cumberland Community Association, and helping strengthen community spirit and engagement across Cumberland. And whereas Russ was also a dedicated supporter of the Cumberland Farmers Market, serving as a board director and helping guide the organization's growth and success through his leadership, hard work, and willingness to assist in any capacity needed. Whereas Russ was a passionate volunteer with the Cumberland Heritage Village Museum, serving on the Museum Advisory Board and Departmental Consultative Group, including as chair, while contributing directly to numerous museum projects, events, and improvement. So therefore, be it resolved that the bandstand located at the Cumberland Heritage Village Museum at 2940 Old Montreal Road be named the Russ Thomas Bandstand, and be it further resolved that the appropriate stand and plaque be installed displaying the name and includes a brief history of Russ's contributions, and be it further resolved that all costs related to the production and installation of the stand, plaque, and subsequent event be funded through the Councillor's Office, and be it further resolved that all text for signage and commemorative plaques shall be bilingual and subject to approval by the General Manager of Recreation, Cultural and Facility Services. And I want to thank my council colleague, Isabel Skalski, for seconding this for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Luloff. Councillor Desroches.
Mr. Mayor, I'm pleased to support this as move this as a long-time supporter of the Royal Canadian Legion. Whereas the Royal Canadian Legion will celebrate its 100th anniversary in 2026, marking a century of standing with veterans, strengthening communities, and honoring the memory of those who served. Whereas the Royal Canadian Legion was officially incorporated by Act of Parliament on July 17, 1926, which is recognized as its anniversary. And whereas the Royal Canadian Legion is Canada's largest veterans organization dedicated to supporting veterans, advocating for their needs, and ensuring that remembrance remains a central part of Canadian life. Whereas the Royal Canadian Legion National Headquarters is located in Ottawa, reinforcing the city's strong connection to the organization's national leadership and activities. Whereas the Royal Canadian Legion branches throughout Ottawa continue to play an important role in supporting veterans and their families, organizing remembrance activities, and contributing to the strength of local communities. Whereas the Royal Canadian Legion plays a vital role in promoting remembrance among youth through programs such as the National Youth Remembrance Contest, partnerships with schools, and educational initiatives that encourage younger generations to learn about the honor and service of sacrifice of veterans. And whereas the City of Ottawa wishes to thank and recognize the many Legion members and volunteers for their longstanding commitment to the community service, remembrance activities, and support for veterans and their families, and whereas the Legion centenary represents a once-in-a-lifetime milestone to reflect on its legacy of service and to celebrate its continued impact across Canada, therefore be it resolved that Ottawa City Council commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Legion in 2026. Be it further resolved that the City Archivist be requested to organize a small commemorative display at Ottawa City Hall, recognizing the history and contributions of the Royal Canadian Legion Ottawa. Be it further resolved that the Ottawa Public Library be requested to consider promoting a curated list of books and materials related to the Royal Canadian Legion, Canadian Military Service, and Remembrance. Be it further resolved that the City of Ottawa install a commemorative plaque next to a designated tree that is planned for Claudia Kane Park in 2026, with the cost of the plaque funded through the Ward 22 Constituency Services budget. And be it further resolved that a framed copy of this motion be provided to all Royal Canadian Legion branches in Ottawa and circulated to the Royal Canadian Legion National Headquarters. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Desroches. Conseiller Plante.
Whereas Ottawa continues to experience a toxic drug poisoning emergency with fentanyl and other synthetic substances contributing to preventable deaths across the city, whereas the local drug supply has become increasingly unpredictable and toxic with many poisonings involving substances that are contaminated, adulterated, or unknown synthetic compounds, and whereas current surveillance methods, including police reporting, hospital data, and self-reporting, do not provide real-time information on emerging substances or toxic batches in circulation, and whereas wastewater analysis has proven to be effective, anonymous, population-level public health surveillance tool capable of detecting emerging substances, identifying trends in drug use, and provide early warnings of dangerous contaminants in the supply. And whereas wastewater surveillance infrastructure was successfully deployed across Canada during COVID-19 pandemic to monitor variants and epidemiological trends in real time, demonstrating the viability of this tool for broader public health applications. And whereas supervised consumption and harm reduction sites have historically provided critical drug drug checking services, and frontline intelligence about the local drug supply, and the closure or reduction of these services creates a gap in Ottawa's ability to monitor toxic substances in circulation. And whereas enhanced coordination between public health, law enforcement, and municipal operations is necessary to strengthen Ottawa's response to the toxic drug poisoning crisis and improve rapid response capacity for frontline workers. Therefore, be it resolved that Ottawa City Council directs staff to work with Dr. Monty Ghosh, physician and associate professor at University of Alberta in addiction and overdose prevention, harm reduction, and health systems at the Department of Medicines, and Dr. Robert De La Tolla, professor, CIHR Applied Public Health Chair in Environment, Climate Change, and One Health, and director in Ottawa Carleton Institute of Environmental Engineering, to explore the implementation of a wastewater-based drug surveillance and early warning system in Ottawa, and be it further resolved that the Infrastructure and Water Services Department work in conjunction with Ottawa Public Health to examine the feasibility of identifying key geographic locations for wastewater sampling, establishing reporting protocols, and developing rapid notification mechanisms for frontline health and community safety partners when dangerous substances or toxic batches are detected. And be it further resolved that staff report back to Council on potential implementation options and partnership opportunities, costs, and funding sources, including provincial, federal, and settlement-based funding streams to support the establishment of a long-term wastewater surveillance program as part of Ottawa Public Health and community safety responses to the toxic drug poisoning emergency. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Merci, Conseillère Plante. Motion to introduce bylaws, Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. That the bylaws listed on the agenda under motions to introduce bylaws 3 readings be read and passed, with the exception of the duplicated bylaw listed as follows. II, a bylaw of the City of Ottawa to provide for safe access to social infrastructure.
You don't have to read them all. Okay, yeah, good. Okay, thank you. Is that carried? Confirmation bylaw, Councillor Lowe.
That the following bylaw be read and passed to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting of May 13th, 2026.
Is that carried? Inquiries, Councillor Tierney.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And odd timing, I just want to say Rick Leary, myself and the Mayor actually were at Blair Station today, and it's kind of all ties in is my inquiry is pretty simple. People want to feel secure in these stations. So for the last few weeks, encampments that are popping up in different areas. Unfortunately, there's jurisdictional challenges that, and Ariel and I were chatting about this, that to clean up those abandoned camps. I'm not talking people that are in the camps. When dealing with the province, the federal government, especially the NCC, my good friends, it takes weeks, if not months, to remove hazardous materials. Is there a process that we can streamline to ensure effective, quick cleanup of hazardous materials? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Are there any other inquiries? All right, motion to adjourn, Councillor Lowe.
That the proceedings of the City Council meeting of May 13th, 2026 be adjourned.
Is that carried? Why can't they all be like this? Thank you, everyone. Merci beaucoup.
Hello. We don't have any sound for the interpretation right now.
Alors, je sais que c'est un dossier très personnel pour eux.
I know that this is a very personal file. It's important to have funds to invest in a project. So if there's a change, if they have less control, I think it will be a problem for councillors. So I think that's the issue. Without this recommendation, we can amend some policies. We can do what we want as a council could do, working with the general director. Talk to me about this other motion that you proposed with Councillor Ménard on patios. It's the season. They're starting to set up on Elgin. So what was the purpose of this motion? I often heard small business people that financial pressures were up, and it's very hard for them during this crisis. So we have to help them as best we can to improve the situation for them. It's a very important issue for our city. It's our 200th anniversary, and we want to have a lot of activities during the summer. So I want to see a lot of patios open for business, and if we can improve the options and reduce the costs for small businesses, it's a priority. So I hope there'll be more patios opening, more people in those patios. Of course, we need nicer weather. It's not quite the season yet for patios, but maybe this weekend. So this motion is to support small businesses and to have more patios open during the summer, a very special summer for our city.
I've heard over and over again from small business owners that the financial pressures have been mounting. We're facing an affordability crisis, and we want to do everything we can to support small businesses. This is Ottawa's 200th birthday. We want to have a great summer season. We want lots of patios open, lots of people enjoying their time on the patios, residents and visitors alike. And so if we can support small businesses, reduce their costs, reduce their financial pressures, make it easier for them to open their patios for this season in particular, we want to do everything we can. So that's what that motion is about, and I'm really pleased that it was supported by Council unanimously.
Thank you. We'll go to Arthur White-Crummey, CBC.
To start with the mayor, I'm hoping to get your thoughts about this direction about a public developer model. Just what do you envision there? Do you think it could actually fill gaps that the private sector is not actually filling? And how viable do you think it might be?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have a lot of details on what that would look like. I'm open to whatever solutions there are that will improve the process, will create more options. I don't, our staff might have more to say about what that could look like going forward, but I'm open to and supportive of any solutions that will advance growth and development of our community. And if this is worth exploring, then let's look at what the options are and consider that. But I don't know if Wendy or Debbie, if you had anything to add on what that might look like.
Just give me a second to readjust here. Will it be Wendy or Debbie? Debbie, can you just give me a quick second here? I do have to even change the temperature here. CTV is much faster than and good.
So the public developer model was actually a recommendation that came from the Housing Innovation Task Force and was included in the Housing Acceleration Plan. There was a information report that was provided to Council, which provided some background information on different models across Canada and internationally. The public developer model really is about affordable housing, and it is a model that has been applied in different cities, and it really is about can we consolidate development across the city of affordable housing so that it happens quicker and it's cheaper because you have economies of scale. And so we're going to be looking at different options from the planning phase right through to construction and operations to see if there's a way to be more efficient and to get homes built faster.
I'll just get a quick clip from the mayor about your thoughts about the Ottawa charge going to the finals.
Do you need time to refocus?
I'm actually focused.
Okay.
You're looking great.
Okay. I'm really excited. Just this morning, I was thinking back to the playoff games that we had last year when they were in the final. They were very exciting. They were very close. They were very tense. I was, nervous before the games, and some of them, weren't decided until the third period. So it's great for our city. It's great for women's hockey. My wife and I are the parents of two girls, and we're proud to see Ottawa as a leader in women's sports, and my daughter, my younger daughter, is growing up in a world where there are professional women's athletes who are role models in our community, and I'm very excited about that. I said all along I thought the Charge were the team to beat in the playoffs this year. I think Montreal made a wise decision to choose the other opponent in the first round and not the Charge, and the Charge proved that to be the case when they beat Boston in 4 games. And but now Montreal's got to face the Charge again. So I'm really excited to see the games, and I'm really delighted at the attendance at the games. There was a total of more than 24,000 people attended the 2 games at the Canadian Tire Centre in round 1. I heard yesterday that ticket sales have been very strong for the first game, the first home game of the final. So I'm hoping we're going to see huge crowds at Canadian Tire Centre to support the Charge, and looking forward to if all goes well, maybe we'll have a victory parade in our city in the near future.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. This concludes our media availability today. Ceci conclut le point de presse d'aujourd'hui. Thanks for your patience.
Thanks.
Merci.